Breaking NFL news, the NFL suspending Jordan Addison for the first 3 games of the season for a violation of the league's substance abuse policy from a year ago. He was arrested in July of 24 on suspicion of DUI after being found asleep in his car near LAX. Pleaded no contest to a lesser charge, so he's going to miss games against the Bears, Falcons, and Bengals if this holds up. Let's get our fantasy insider Jamey Eisenberg in here for a little bit more on what to do when considering adding Jordan Addison to your fantasy roster. This is a guy that performs when he's out there on the field, Jamey. But if you're going to miss 3 games, you're going to miss, what is that, 15, 20% of the season. How far do you fall in the draft?
So, Chris, we were kind of expecting this just once he, had the plea and, to the lesser charge. We knew there was going to be some sort of suspension. So if you look at most of the rankings on CBSSports.com for myself, Dave Richard, Keith Cummings, we were kind of just waiting for this to be official. He may move down a couple of spots once I look at everything and sort of evaluate it. And like you said, we may get an appeal on this where he may get it reduced potentially from 3 games to 2. I doubt it would be less than that. The thing about Addison, he was, without a suspension, going to be drafted as a borderline starter in 2 receiver leagues, a definite starter in 3 receiver leagues. Now I think you just approach it as there's no bye weeks in the first 3 weeks of the season. You just take him as one of your high-end reserves with the potential of when he does come back that he's playing at the level that he's shown in the first 2 years of his career. He's been certainly a great guy in finding the end zone, 17 touchdowns in the first 2 years of his career. The biggest thing, obviously, that this does is it helps a guy like T.J. Hockenson. I don't think it really does much for Justin Jefferson, but I think it stunts the growth a little bit for J.J. McCarthy, not having one of his premier playmakers on the field, the quarterback that's going to be the first-year starter for Minnesota. So that's going to alter some things, I think, for what Kevin O'Connell does. But I think you just hope that Addison stays in shape, ready to go. Once we get to week 4 on, you're getting one of the better young receivers in the league. He, just like you said, has to miss a portion of the season. That's going to hurt some fantasy managers that were potentially counting on him.
How much is his stock in flux also, given the fact that we just have so many unknowns about J.J. McCarthy?
It's again, baked into what we were kind of evaluating with him. It's kind of the reason why I moved Justin Jefferson down a little bit. He was pretty much the consensus number 2 receiver going into the start of this process, even before training camp. And then you just sort of see how CeeDee Lamb is performing and the way that he looks with Dak Prescott knowing his quarterback is back. So I think there's just some uncertainty across the board. Now, the thing that you counter that with is there was a lot of uncertainty last year when Sam Darnold took over as a starting quarterback. It's really about Kevin O'Connell and the playmakers that he has to use to help the quarterback. So we've seen mixed results from McCarthy. I think part of that is Jefferson missing time with the hamstring injury. I think the also part of it is that he's going against one of the better defenses in the league, and Brian Flores throwing a lot of things at him. So the development, I think, is going to be a little bit shaky to start. Now, not having Addison is going to hurt McCarthy. But yes, there is a lot of questions in regards to the 3 main pass catchers of Jefferson, Addison, and Hockenson because of McCarthy making his first starts this year.
Yeah, he's basically a rookie and really not a dual threat either, but he's got all of these weapons. You've got Justin Jefferson, you've got Jordan Addison, at least for 14 games out of the season. You've got him slotted at 20 here. What's his ceiling?
I mean, his ceiling could be top 12. I do think he's going to surprise some people with his legs. So, you say not a dual-threat quarterback. That probably is the way most people view him. But I do think that he's going to run a little bit. And what we saw, and they had a scrimmage last night, that he was using his legs and getting a lot of positive reports about the way that he's moving in the pocket and sort of some of the things that I think Kevin O'Connell will do with him. Remember, O'Connell's had to do a lot of quarterback juggling over the last couple of years once we had Kirk Cousins and the Achilles injury. So he had a guy like Josh Dobbs who he got, out of the pocket and moving around a little bit. And I think he could do some similar things with J.J. McCarthy, not to the same level that Dobbs runs. But I think this offense will change a little bit. There are just a lot of moving parts right now. They're retooling the offensive line. I think, again, not having Addison for the start of the season is going to be a little bit of a problem. The running game is going to look a little different because Aaron Jones was basically doing everything last year, and O'Connell talked about adding somebody else to the mix, which they go out and they get Jordan Mason from San Francisco. So I think it's going to be an interesting season for McCarthy, but to expect him, and this is going to sound gross, to expect him to be Sam Darnold is probably asking a little bit too much. I don't think he's going to be Kirk Cousins, but this team, this offense, since O'Connell has taken over, has produced a top 12 quarterback for fantasy managers every time that he's been the head coach there. So there's a lot of upside for J.J. McCarthy if he can get the ball to these guys, and there's a lot to like, again, about the playmakers.
All right, Jamey Eisenberg with us, the fantasy angle for the Minnesota Vikings. Jordan Addison suspended the first 3 games of the upcoming season. That would be Bears, Falcons, Bengals, 1, 2, 3. Eligible to come back week 4 in Ireland against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They have back-to-back games overseas. They're also facing the Browns week 5 in England. done before their bye week. Fantasy football today. Jamey, Dave, Heath, Adam, all the guys getting you ready for the upcoming season and what to expect in the draft. We're still waiting to hear what happens with Rashee Rice, who is another guy that's likely going to be suspended for some time.